You think debt is what keeps you poor. But what if the real trap is believing that in the first place? Because the moment you understand how debt actually moves in the real world, you stop seeing money the same way again. And maybe that's why nobody ever explained it to you like this. Let's start where most people get stuck. You wake up, check your phone, and your mind already feels heavy. Bills, rent, maybe a loan payment waiting in the background like a shadow you can't shake. Debt feels personal, emotional, like something you did wrong. But somewhere else, someone wakes up, checks the same kind of numbers, and feels something completely different. Control. Same system, same banks, same money, but two totally different realities. So what changed? It's not income, not luck, not even education. It's how debt is used. You go to a bank and expect hesitation, rejection, but instead, they offer money because the asset you want can generate income. This is where the mindset splits. Most people borrow to survive. Wealthy people borrow to acquire income-producing assets. That difference changes everything that comes after. You buy a property with a loan. A tenant moves in. The rent starts paying your loan. Someone else's money covers your debt while the asset grows in value. This scales. Businesses, corporations, governments use it. It's called leverage. Small investments control bigger outcomes, but responsibility also increases. Debt doesn't create wealth by itself. It amplifies decisions. Good decisions become powerful. Bad decisions become dangerous. Taxes, inflation, and structure decide the gap between people. The real question is understanding how money moves. Because once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. But here's the part nobody highlights in simple conversations. Leverage doesn't just multiply profit. It multiplies responsibility. Because if things go wrong, pressure doesn't disappear. It shifts. And that's why most people fear debt. They only see the downside. But the wealthy don't ignore the risk. They structure around it. Now here's a twist you probably didn't expect. In many systems, not all money is treated the same. Earned income gets taxed first, but borrowed money? In many cases, it doesn't get taxed the same way because it isn't technically income. That means capital can be accessed without selling assets, without triggering the same tax events, without stepping out of ownership. So while one person is earning, getting taxed, then spending, another person is borrowing, investing, and keeping assets intact. And this is where the gap starts widening quietly, not loudly, silently. Now pause here for a second, because this is where most people misunderstand everything. Debt is not what makes people poor. Mismanaged debt does. Because the same tool that builds empires can destroy stability if the cash flow doesn't support it. If income stops, if rates rise, if planning is weak, the system flips fast. And that's why even wealthy people respect debt more than they fear it. They don't treat it like danger. They treat it like pressure that must be controlled. But there's another layer most people never think about. Inflation. Every year, money sitting idle loses value. So saving alone feels safe, but slowly weakens your purchasing power. Meanwhile, assets tied to debt can grow, generate income, and outpace inflation over time. So one strategy feels safe today, but quietly loses tomorrow, and the other feels risky today, but builds tomorrow. This is the paradox, and this is where the emotional battle begins. Because debt is not just numbers, it's psychology. To most people, owing money creates fear, stress, and a sense of being trapped. But to someone who understands the system, debt feels different. It feels like time being borrowed. Time to scale, time to grow, time to build something bigger than what cash alone would allow. But here's the final truth most people miss. Debt doesn't create wealth by itself. It amplifies decisions. Good decisions become powerful. Bad decisions become dangerous. And that's why two people can use the same system and end up in completely opposite worlds. So the real question was never whether debt is good or bad. The real question is, do you understand what you are using it for? Because at the end, debt doesn't decide your future. Your structure does. And the uncomfortable truth is this. Most people aren't stuck because they lack money. They are stuck because they were never shown how money actually moves. Once you see that clearly, you can't unsee it again. Because debt was never just about borrowing money. It was always about direction. And once you control direction, you start controlling outcomes. Not by changing the system, but by understanding how to move within it. And that changes everything.